Okay, call to order the meeting of Mayor and Council. Thank you all for being here tonight. If you will rise for the invocation by Councilman McCoy.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to gather in your name. Lord, please give us the wisdom and the conviction to do your will and your way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Okay, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, as a reminder to council, we do have an executive session following our regular meeting. You've all received the minutes from our last meeting on September 12th. If there are no questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to receive those minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
All right, thank you, sir. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, it's unanimous. Okay, at this time, I'm going to call up Chief Marshal Kraft to introduce our new recruits, our new hires, and also some promotions.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for having us tonight, and it's my honor tonight to introduce you to our 3 new recruit officers who just became patrolmen and were sworn in on September the 11th. I'd like to introduce you in the following order. Patrolman Cameron Yost. Patrolman Fevzi Darlimaz. And Patrolman Tyler Kramer. These young officers are already doing a great job and they're assigned to field training. We also have had promotions this year. I'd like to recognize, starting with our most recent promotion, to the rank of lieutenant, and also a 22-year plus veteran of the Seaford Police Department, Lieutenant Ashley Matt Mills. Congratulations. And I believe Matt has a few family members here that are very proud of him tonight. We have four officers that were promoted to corporal that were not able to make it tonight. I'd just like to state their name, if I may. We had Michael Maheta and Ashlyn Hare that were promoted to the rank of corporal on April the 12th. We also had classmates Cody Matthews and Jamont Matthews that were recently promoted to the rank of corporal on September the 9th. So let's give them a round of applause. We do have here tonight detective and corporal effective to, the 28th of September, Joan Nanola. Joan actually brought quite a bit of experience to the department. She graduated from Columbia, South Carolina Police Academy down there, and her husband's a military member. Also, we have Patrolman First Class Cody Levis with us tonight. Congratulations. Cody was fresh out of the United States Marine Corps when he joined our ranks, and he is doing a fantastic job. So, and I would like to just give them all a round of applause and thank them for their service. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Our officers, if they need to move on to other things, now would be a good time to exit. Yep, you're welcome. Thank you guys for being here and bringing your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's quite an honor. Okay, do we have anybody here tonight for public comment?
We do. First, we have Dan Cannon.
Mr. Cannon? Just come on down to the mic.
Dan Cannon, 411 Nylon Boulevard. For well over a year, I've been raising serious concerns about the state of Seaford's municipal elections. More than 2 months ago, I specifically asked what mayor and council proposed to do about 1, the abysmal registered voter turnout, 2, lack of early voting opportunities, 3, elections in conflict with significant holidays, and 4, partisanship and/or incompetence on the part of election officials. More than 2 months later, I've had no response of any kind from mayor and city council about remedying these serious muni election problems. How long should citizens expect this breach of responsibility to continue? Of shorter term concern, the temporary placement of some, then permanent installation of even more speed bumps on Nylon Boulevard was virtually an unqualified success, with this citizen and other citizens properly informed and able to provide timely feedback. However, the solution to the speeding problem on Magnolia Drive appears to have been bungled, judging by the angry citizen responses. To date, Seaford's mayor and city council have had nothing to say since the 11 citizens showed up on August 22nd, mostly to protest a farm gate permanently closing a public road between Bel Air and Woodside Manor. But the angry public reaction is not surprising, as the city's 323 letter to the affected property owners was at best incomplete and at worst misleading. The city letter emphasized in bold print tentative placement of permanent speed bumps only on Magnolia Drive in Woodside Manor, with no mention whatsoever of any speed bumps in Bel Air portion of the road. Clearly, there's a missing piece in this puzzle. Why weren't aggressive speed bumps on the Bel Air side of Magnolia tried before going to the farm gate? Very importantly, the city's letter regarding farm gate was inaccurate when it said that the installation of a gate would restrict, my emphasis, all traffic in and out of Bel Air off of Magnolia Drive. Restrict is not a synonym for elimination of all traffic between the two subdivisions. No wonder citizens were surprised and upset at the installation of a permanent, chained, locked, and downright ugly farm gate. Overall, the farm gate solution appears to have been a drastic step taken before speed bumps were given a chance to work, and without enough clear communication about the road closure. Consequently, this entire matter needs to be rethought and redone. First, remove the farm gate. 2, test new aggressive, if temporary, speed bumps on the Bel Air portion of Magnolia. 3, then reevaluate the efficacy of the speeding reduction.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to finish one sentence, please.
One sentence, sure.
Yeah, one sentence, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Cannon.
Finally, after these corrective measures are taken, a responsible mayor and city council should hold a public hearing using the data to decide the farm gate matter in public. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here for public comment?
We do. We have Dale Short.
Mr. Short?
Dale Short, 325 Pine Street. 2 things have been on my mind I've been wanting to talk about. One is, why with the new system for license fees and everything like that, why do the same people get to do what they want? And it seems like the program has not brought them in board with everybody else. As far as trash, the way they treat your yard and everything else. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, in 1972, I started driving in the city of Seaford. Nice time to drive. If you did 35 mile an hour or more, you got pulled over. I have a suggestion, and that I'm not telling people how to do their job, but from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., if they sit in between PK and Hardee's, those people that are doing 50, 60 mile an hour going by, if you can get them stopped, it might slow things up and make things a little safer on that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment?
We have Roxanne Knights.
Ms. Knight?
Hi, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Almost didn't make your meeting. I'm grateful. Speeder almost hit me. I'm Roxanne Knights, 1139 Magnolia Drive. I'm here again with the Magnolia Drive Committee, Magnolia Drive Community Committee. I'm going to second what Mr. Cannon said about the bundling of the speed bumps and the considerations of how it was done, and probably revisit it in the same manner that he suggests is the same thing I came up with, and I felt that we should consider a true reevaluation of the situation concerning the entire movement of how you did it to select the speed bump. Separate the two communities. Nylon Boulevard had nothing to do with Magnolia Drive, and Magnolia Drive has nothing to do with Nylon Community Boulevard. And yes, there are some things that may be similar, but the biggest thing is the fact in how you did it. I think that more communication needs to be addressed. You need to go back. Probably I'm suggesting doing a survey maybe to get community input, and probably have somebody assess that and really look at the points that are being made. But to move from that, I also want to just say that in the Bel Air community now, we're having excessive flooding. I don't know if you guys are aware of it when it rains. Don't know the name of the street that we exit out onto Atlanta Road, but I did take a video of the picture. I think it's like about 2 feet of water that our cars have to go through to get out. It's the only way out. And that starts on the Bel Air Drive itself. So you have cars that once parked there that had no water, that are sitting in 2 feet of water during a rainstorm. And I think you guys need to look into that. It's a serious matter because, as I said, it's the only way that we have out. In the meantime, guys, I am coming back to you to discuss this at whole with the Bel Air Gate. I hope that we can come to a better movement. We are still having community discussions about it, and we'll be meeting with you shortly.
Okay.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Mrs. Knight, can you send me that video?
Yeah.
Can you email it to me, please? Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment?
We have nobody else signed in.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to new business number 1. We'll have our city manager walk us through the collective bargaining agreement.
And I'm going to ask our Director of Finance, June Merritt, to come up, if she wouldn't mind.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. As you're well aware, we've been in negotiations with our with Teamsters Local 326 and our police department for a few months. The police department bargaining membership did ratify the tentative agreement on September the 14th, 2023. And so we're bringing it forward to you for your approval. The tenets of the contract, the things that changed was obviously the length of the contract. We did get a 3-year contract that is effective July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. And then the only other change was wages. And so the first year of the contract is a across-the-board base wage adjustment of $11,003.20. The second year is 5.5% base wage increase, and the third year is a 5% base wage increase. Also, this, as part of the ratification, it's retroactive to July 1, 2023 on base wage and overtime.
Okay, council's been a part of this negotiations for a long time, but are there any questions for Director Merritt in regards to this contract? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, it's my honor to make a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Seaford and the General Teamsters Local 326 Union as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Are there any questions on the motion? We'll do a roll call vote on this one. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Bradley?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you again for all your work on that.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll sign it. We'll sign it for the league.
Okay, we'll sign.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Gene, for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next we have the recommendation from the Economic Development Committee on the incentives.
All right. Our Economic Development Director, Trish Newcomer, is out, and she's on vacation, a well-deserved vacation, so she asked that I walk the council through this. Council has a recommendation memo in your package, and if we could just advance the slides forward. This is a little bit of project background. The Muirfield project shown here out on Herring Run Road, adjacent to our utility building, has been developed and kind of fits and starts over the last decade or so. There's two pieces to the development. There's a single-family home portion that's to the left-hand side of the screen, and then a multifamily portion that is largely undeveloped there. There's a new developer that has come in, NVR Incorporated, or Ryan Homes, and they have put up some new model homes and have had some very resounding success there. They reported they've already applied for 18 permits in that development. So it's reported here as 15, but our building official has tentatively issued a few more. Could you advance to the next slide for me? Thank you. So in our Economic Development Committee information, they presented some information around their request, their ask. They'll be doing a significant financial investment in that Muirfield 1, Muirfield 2 community, building 144 homes, and then 110 in the remaining portions of that. So this improvement will bring 254 new families to the Seaford market, increasing the tax base, an infusion of cash with investment into the local marketplace. They plan to also build this community out over the next 3 to 4 years and at a pace of basically 60 homes per year. So would you mind advancing to the next one? Okay, so they did all that, and we had our meeting in their ask, and what they asked of the Economic Development Committee was to look at giving them some fee relief in our fees when the building department issues a building permit. They have to pay impact fees, tap fees, and other fees. They asked if they would put in residential sprinkler systems, which we don't have currently, it's not a requirement, but they would be willing to do that if we would consider a fee relief. So the committee did discuss that at length. They did an in-depth review of the project with the committee, and then we talked to them about this fire suppression system. Currently, the city does have a $3,000 credit if you install a residential sprinkler system. So the committee asked about that, and the representative from Ryan Homes, Mr. Owen Thomas, said that $3,000 is not enough to cover the cost of the sprinkler system. So the committee acknowledged council adopted that several years ago before we've had some dramatic cost increases in the construction industry. So as we discussed through it, the committee discussed through it with Ryan Homes, they felt like they wanted to kind of decouple these two things. And they asked staff to go back and look at the credit that's given in the fee and rate schedule for the sprinkler system. But they did suggest, and their recommendation to council is to extend the 23 and 23 program. So council will recall that this year in 2023, we offered an incentive to developers. The first 23 homes built in the city, we would waive the sewer tap and the water tap fee as an incentive to developers, as long as they put all the infrastructure in. So because that's now gone, we've had a good pace in building development. They requested that the council consider, the economic development consider, extending that program. And what they stated was, based on the pace they are going to build and what they foresee through the end of the year, they thought 30 additional single-family detached residential units would be enough to cover them. So, and that incentive will reset in 2024. So staff can look at what the pace of building is in the community, and if we want to adjust those numbers in 2024, we have the opportunity to do that in January. So the Economic Development Committee, their recommendation is as follows. Extending the existing 23 and 23 water and sewer tap fee waiver program by 30 additional single-family detached residential units through the end of calendar year '23, and provide NVR Incorporated a retroactive credit for 4 permits previously obtained from the Code Department in 2023 in the Muirfield 1 development. So that is the recommendation that came forward. I know the Vice Mayor and the Mayor are also members on the Economic Development Committee. Would either of you like to add anything I might have missed or did not elaborate enough?
Sure. I myself, as a member of the committee, was not really in favor of giving a particular developer such as NVR favorable treatment. These extra permits that would be added for calendar year '23 would go to any developer that's building homes in the city. So it wasn't what they wanted. They wanted, I'll call it special treatment, but I felt it was more equitable that these extra permits were opened up to every developer. So it's incumbent upon that developer, NVR, to get their ducks in a row and get all the permits that they can and get them in. Otherwise, I mean, they're the largest developer in the city at the moment, and they're shovel-ready with their jobs, and there's only one other developer that's even close, and they're not building at that kind of pace. Also, I felt it was fair, since the 23 and 23 was saturated, that they missed out on the 4, that we offer them the 4 permits retroactively. The $3,000 credit towards limited area sprinklers for residential, that was a gray area, because they were not entirely sure what the regulation would be. So they were coming up with this large ask because they thought that they had to do a really extensive treatment, which the city's examining, and the developer are now examining what the regulations really are for limited area sprinklers. They were maybe under the impression that since they had to do, they already had to do sprinklers in the townhomes, the R3 homes, that it was going to be priced like that. But that's built to a totally different standard than 1- and 2-family homes. So my argument was that I think the $3,000 is closer than he thinks, and he's entitled to that, or the gentleman, the developer, is entitled to that. So I just didn't feel like giving such a large amount of fee relief was justified in that situation.
Well stated. Okay, are there any, yes, sir?
That 3,000, is that per home for clarity, or?
Yeah, so if you remember, when we brought that before council, how many years ago? 6, 7, 8? It was a while ago. It was a long time ago, but that 3,000 was a limited sprinkler system to cover the hot spots of the house, which I think entitled maybe 3 to 5 heads. This gentleman was looking to sprinkler the entire house, the entire square footage, and that's, his point was well taken, is that we have not relooked at that equation in a long time. Our incentive was intended to make it cost-effective for someone to put a sprinkler system in a house, and we've not relooked at it. No one's taken us up on that. These folks are willing to look at it. I think they're going to educate us, and we'll probably come out with a better equation when we're done. But I think the future, certainly the fire company would support the future, is houses need to be sprinkled just based on volunteers to be able to get to fires fast enough. So that, they're going to help us walk through that and figure that out. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple questions. So when we discuss fee relief, what is the total dollar that we're discounting for this builder? What's the total dollar amount? If this goes into effect with the fee reduction, hookup fee reduction, and the discussion around the $3,000 for the fire system? What does that look like?
All right, so let me try to answer it in two pieces. The sprinkler credit is $3,000, and that's there. That hasn't changed. That's not recommended to be changed by this.
Per unit?
Per house, yes,
Per
sir.
house, yep.
Yeah, and as the Vice Mayor stated, only 1 and 2 family dwellings, because they're already required in multifamily dwellings. So this is kind of a narrow slice of building going on. If we extend the 23 and 23 program, water and sewer tap fees would be credited for an additional 30 units. And for each home, I'm speaking off the top of my head, but I think I'm correct. Water tap fees are $600 per unit, and sewer tap fees are $1,050 per unit. So $1,650 per unit.
So what, roughly 55,000? 60,000?
That sounds right.
Okay.
That sounds right. I have to do the math for you. but
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. So the question I have, the incentive, I mean, we're at a historical high right now for home prices. I mean, homes are higher now than they've ever been. And the incentive program that we've implemented was at a time of need, right? I mean, so this was an incentive to get people into the community, a lift to get them invested into our community. The problem that I have is with the price of homes and the return on investment, and an investor coming in asking for relief, I get it. But to me, that just enhances their bottom line. It's just more of a profit they're going to stick in their pocket. And as far as I'm all in support of safety, but a fire system implemented into a house to me would be also a good selling point for that home. I just think when we're using taxpayers' dollars, my opinion, I think the dollars could be better spent. He's already sold 18 houses. He's not having a problem selling houses, and to come in and ask for a reduction, in my opinion, is just you're adding additional profit to the investor. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the recommendation from the Economic Development Committee and extend the existing 23 and 23 water and sewer tap fee waiver program by 30 additional single-family detached residential units through the end of the calendar year 2023, and provide NVR Incorporated a retroactive credit for 4 permits previously obtained from the Code Department in 2023 in the Muirfield development as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
I second the motion. Councilman Bradley.
Seconds. All right, we'll do a roll call vote on this one. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Bradley?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
I'm going to vote no, but I'd like like I said, just to reiterate why I'm voting no. Is it good? All right, yeah. As I stated, I feel that right now, home prices are at a historical high. I think this, any investor is going to try to make as much as they can, and I just think that $60,000 could be better utilized by the city other than giving it back to the investor. So with that being said, once again, I vote no.
Okay, thank you. All right, move on to new business number 3. We're talking about the grant for funding for the Oyster House project.
Yes, and I'd like to first introduce our resident expert, Ms. Susan Rochelle. She is here. She's a consultant with the Chesapeake Conservancy. We have been working with that group through Ms. Rochelle to, honestly, we want to try to get the Oyster House Park finished sooner rather than later, start that project back up into a new phase. So Ms. Rochelle, the Director of Economic Development, and I have been looking at what are our next steps on that project. And obviously, please come to the mic if you don't mind. I'm putting her on the spot a little bit. Ms. Rochelle worked for the state for many years in the recreation department, and she has extensive background in grant writing, in obtaining funding, project management, things of that nature. So she's brought a lot to the table with us. And one of the things that she's brought up, among other things, is this potential Chesapeake Gateways grant. In council's package, there's some information there we pulled down off the website that she forwarded us, the hyperlink, so we looked through that. I'll just talk about a few things in there. And these grants are opening up soon, and come up with a project and submit it to them. And it's to promote resilient communities and landscapes through tourism, sustainability, conservation, and local economies, promote and market the Chesapeake watershed experience, promoting a stewardship ethic, advance equitable access to the outdoors, make public lands and open space more welcoming and accessible. The estimated total funding is approximately $1 million in this area, and an estimated range of $25,000 to $150,000 of funding is anticipated for each award. They break it down into small grants between $25,000 and $50,000, and then large grants, $51,000 to $150,000. The request today is for council to allow staff to participate with the Chesapeake Conservancy to apply for this grant, and there'll be others that will come along. And then we'll formulate a project that will help us advance the completion of the Oyster House Park. Ms. Morrichelle, did I get that generally correct?
A lot of National Park Service fancy words.
Yes.
I want to point out that the Chesapeake Gateways Network is a partnership program that feeds funds and assistance to sites around or within the Chesapeake Bay watershed that may be a park, it might be a museum. They're looking to, and through the partnership, to enhance people's experience in areas of, let's say, natural and cultural resource experiences, protection, and fumbling my words here, but basically, you all know about the Seaford Museum. The Seaford Museum is part of the Gateways Network. Trap Pond State Park and the Nature Center is part of the Gateways Network. And the Water Trail Map and Guide, which I was looking for a copy out front, and I don't have one with me, is also part of the Gateways Network. So there are those sites in Delaware. So if you participate in a grant, if you're lucky enough to be chosen for a grant through the Chesapeake Bay program with the National Park Service, that you become part of that network. So let's see, it's a lot of fancy words, but essentially, you become part of a larger network that enables people to experience the natural and cultural resources, the heritage sites within the Chesapeake Bay program or Chesapeake Bay system. I just wrote down a couple of bullets. Their targets are local economies. You're a small town, you have an economy here, you're local, you've got the great downtown effort going on here. It's about supporting conservation, interpretation. You've got great stories here to tell about the oystering, the canning industry, and so forth. And the funding you mentioned, 150, that number changed a bit from the first time we talked about this. But there is no match, no required match. So it's an outright grant that is made, and we'll see where that goes.
And maybe I'll finish up with, this is the strategic partnership with the Chesapeake Conservancy on this project. That Oyster House Park would not be where it is today without that strategic partnership. We were unaware of this National Parks Service Gateways grant, so this is the expertise that they bring to us in helping us raise funds, helping us, provide this amenity to the community. So staff would certainly recommend council strongly consider participating with the Conservancy with this grant.
Amen. All right, are there any questions from Councilman Henderson?
Thank you. This grant, is it a grant for planning or hard assets or a hard project, or is it a mix? Is there a formula for how much you can put towards planning or how much you can put towards a shovel in the ground?
I'm not aware that there is a formula. However, based on conversations that I have had with Chesapeake Conservancy, and some of the experts there who know that program very well, is that there could be some planning, and there could be design, for example. So y'all have talked about a pavilion and other assets to be built in Oyster House Park to bring it beyond the stage of where it is today, that perhaps design of a pavilion, for example, could be part of that. So there's some speculation about what would be eligible, but if it has a link to what was there was an Oyster House. So if it has some kind of link to that, design-wise, for example, and that then, I'm going to use a pavilion as an example, if that's okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. That, how you use that pavilion, whether it's for concerts that you have locally, or educational programs to talk about what historically has happened there, and some kind of partnership between the museum and the city, and the activities that could take place there. All of that seems to fall under the interpretation of, the Chesapeake, this region's part of the Chesapeake would be eligible. That's the way that conversation went, and there's this understanding, based on what we know about the program, that those kinds of things would be eligible. So, there isn't anything on the ground right now, but planning, design work, construction, interpretive activities, all of that seems to fall under this grant cycle's eligibility. I think it changes depending on what their emphasis is year to year, but that's the way we're looking at it right now and interpreting what they are saying they're going to give money for, or grant money.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I will say that our relationship with the Chesapeake Conservancy, and as I call him, the governor of the Chesapeake Bay, Joel Dunn, is just, the impact that's had on our downtown next to the Downtown Development District is really a game changer for Seaford. I mean, it's really, it's gotten people from standing still about thinking what could happen to what's actually can happen. And so I appreciate everything you seem to touch opens our eyes to bigger opportunities. So I appreciate you bringing that opportunity to us.
So a next step, if I can, if you pass this motion, this recommendation, would be for Charles and myself and other folks from the Conservancy to talk about what you would apply for. So,
Scope of project.
this, right.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, if there's no other questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Bradley, I'd like to make a motion to approve staff to participate in the grant process with the Chesapeake Conservancy for a National Park Service Gateways grant for funding for Oyster House Park as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you so much. Great job on your first motion. That was,
Tongue twister.
thank you so much. Okay, do we have any old business?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, reminders of
All
meetings.
right, we just have two things, the pink ribbon walk and ceremony beginning at Tidal Health, Nanticoke to Gateway Park is tomorrow night, September 27th, starts at 7 p.m. Just a reminder, we do have a public meeting or a association meeting here that starts at 6. So if you're going to attend both, we'll have to make sure we keep an eye on the clock. Sussex County Association of Towns, the SCAT meeting will be at the Ross Station Event Center on October 4th, 2023. That starts at 5 p.m. We are offering tours of the Ross Mansion that date. So if you would like to attend that, we are hosting it, so please let Ashley know. So that's all I have, sir.
Yes, and certainly would encourage everybody to attend since we are hosting all the other towns. And the only other meeting I see that you left off is the statewide celebration of Orlando Holland's birthday tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, that is tomorrow. The governor will be here.
That's right.
The governor.
I think everybody's off work tomorrow, right? Okay, with that, we'll go to committee reports. We'll start with Codes, Parks and Rec. Councilman Bradley.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, fellow councilmen, and guests. First of all, you've stolen part of my thunder because I'd like to wish him a happy birthday. Hope you have many more. Hope I get to witness them all. So that's a good thing. Okay, met with Katie and Mike this morning. There are 3 grant applications have been submitted to the state for various projects. Trash has been cleaned up under High Street Bridge and a temporary fence has been put in place. Coastal Cleanup Day took place, and because there was substantially less trash, a parishioner from Mount Olivet suggested pick up around the tree removal line behind the church. Bravo for their efforts. Code enforcement. Muirfield 1, Phase 3, 16 lots. Bel Air construction. The first 10 lots have 6 homes completed. And of course, once again, I was going to reiterate about the walk tomorrow night about breast cancer awareness. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a report from Fire Chief John Wilson. There's a total fire responses of 768 calls for the year. There's 74 calls for September. The average calls for September is 2.9 calls per day. Total calls in EMS is 3,016 for the year. In September, it's 269 for an average of 10.7 calls per day. There have been a total of 390 fire calls for the year in the city, and 1,644 calls this year for EMS in the city. Under significant incidents, on the 18th of September, there was a motor vehicle crash with entrapment on Sussex Highway and Bethel Concord Road. That was an assist for Blades Volunteer Fire Company. Again, on the 18th, on Hurley Park Drive, there was a kitchen fire. Under apparatus, engine 87.2 is out of service for a pump issue, and engine 87.5 is out of service for a factory paint issue. So with these 2 first-run pieces of equipment out of service, Blaze Volunteer Fire Company lent their engine 71.9, so it's in service in the Seaford Bay until we get one of the 2 pieces back. Last training was September 20th. There was Machinery Rescue Basics, where 25 members participated. Machinery Rescue Basics was where they simulated limbs and extremities being caught in machinery, farm machinery. So they got practice with using the tools to get people and hands, and not real hands, but simulated stuff, extricated from safely from machinery. The next training will be on October 4th. Topic to be announced. Firefighter EMT Kyle Peterman has completed his EMT field training. He's done his driver's training for his ambulance and skills book. So all that's done. Expect to see him out on the street very soon, if not already. Firefighter EMT Hunter Hardesty is in phase 3 of 4 for his EMT field training, and he's working on his skills book and finishing his ambulance driver, ambulance driver training. So hopefully soon we'll have him to full duty. We have 1 full-time opening in EMS, and there's the part-time, they're still actively recruiting. Here's a good thing. there's a large amount of EMT student ride-alongs that are currently ongoing with the EMT class at Delaware State Fire School. It was explained to me that Seaford Department is one of only a few in the county that offers these ride-alongs, and it's a great recruiting tool because they get seat time. Was it 12 calls?
Yes, sir.
12 calls. They get to go 12 calls as a fulfillment of the requirement in their training. So they get a lot of exposure to the employees and staff, and it helps get a leg up, possibly, for recruiting. Firefighter EMT Troy Christensen's 1-year anniversary is today. And it's bittersweet because Troy's also slated to leave the fire company in January. He was hired on by the Washington, D.C. Fire Department. So wish him good luck if you encounter Troy in his future endeavors. Ambulance B87 was placed on display at the Delaware Volunteer Firefighters Association Conference by the manufacturer's rep, Atlantic Emergency Solutions. They had some others. The ambulance B87 has been displayed before, but a couple of their pieces had to back out, so B87 was put on display, nice and clean and shiny and sharp looking. So there's about a dozen and a half events that are, for brevity, I'm just going to say that most of these are all fire prevention related, where they're going to show up at schools and stuff for the month of October. And I'll let you look at that. But there is some news at the bottom. The new generator project is scheduled to start in earnest this week. I think they have a progress meeting or
Tomorrow, on site.
startup meeting tomorrow. And Auxiliary Life member Elaine Vincent was awarded with the Ladies Auxiliary Delaware Volunteer Firefighters Association Hall of Recognition Award for Sussex County. And Chief Wilson's last meeting as the president of the Sussex County Fire Chiefs Association will be on Thursday, October 19th, after a 3-year term. So he's a busy guy. So I'm sure he'll find something else to get involved with.
He surely will.
So moving on to Seaford Police Department. For 2023, there's 8,306 total complaints, and you'll see the distribution of all those complaints down below in the column. There were 104 total crimes reported, 12 adult and 4 juvenile. There were 9 felony arrests, 30 misdemeanors, 7 violations, and 58 other, for a 76% clearance rate, which is down slightly over previous periods. Under drug complaints, there were 6 drug crimes reported with 5 adult arrests, 1 prosecution decline, and 1 search warrant issued. On a positive note, there were no juvenile arrests during this period. Under traffic, there was 130 traffic contacts with 23 citations and 5 warnings, 12 crashes, 1 injury crash on Front Street and North Street, 4 hit-and-run accidents, 1 on private property, the rest were on public roadways. I will mention a highly publicized event that took place. The department assisted Delaware State Police in a search warrant on the 400 block of North Street. As a result, defendant Avery Cannon was arrested for possession of 1,167.8 grams of cocaine. 57.57 grams of crack cocaine, and 5 firearms by a person prohibited. He also seized $14,974 in U.S. currency. So he was charged with related charges and committed to SCI. So that's of the list of significant events and crimes that pretty much tops it. As you can see, the administration was busy doing many activities, as well as including the recent swearing in of the new recruits who you met here earlier this evening. The recruits are now patrolmen, so if you encounter them, wish them safety and a great career with the city. There was also a special event on the 22nd of September with the retirement walkout and celebration of Lieutenant Christopher Miller, where the many on-duty and off-duty officers, as well as friends and city officials, lined up to usher him out and give him some awards and wish him the start of a new career. So with that, I'll cut it short.
Thank you very much. Next, Administration IT, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A meeting was held with J&B regarding the Dolby South Development Project for a design review, and they met with representatives of Corda, formerly DuPont, concerning the Arbutus Well carbon filtration facility, and they are setting up camera installation at Park Shop and Seaford Park is in process, and attended various other meetings and events, and all the work is routine. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next, Electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the last report, the crew have finished the loop feed for the East Park Business Center. They had a demo for 3M on some new 1.0 terminators. Greg and Nick had training on the ArcGIS system. And they pulled the primary wire, set the transformer, and energized it at MSP property. Regarding our director, he had his standard director's meeting, staff meeting, and council liaison meeting. Met with the developer for KRM and the Western Sussex Business Campus, and worked on the estimate for KRM. Over the course of the next few weeks, they're going to continue working in Bel Air single-family residence section and continue changing the lights on Sussex Highway to LED. That's been the report, Mr. Mayor, in its entirety.
All right, thank you. Finally, we have Public Works, Wastewater Treatment, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights, starting with the Public Works Department. The Wilford Street project is complete. The team spent an entire day and a half cleaning silt out of the manhole and sewer main from the Harbor House. They cleaned up the property on Front Street for code. They've replaced the fire hydrant on Pine Street. The team worked on the catch basins, cleaned them out in preparation for the storm. Jumping over to the wastewater treatment facility, waste pump 2 was disassembled, and they're getting prices for repair parts. Coordinating seal replacements for the RAS pump number 3. The team pumped down and cleaned out contact in preparation for the annual sampling. Some of the projects that are up and coming over the next few weeks, they're going to install new water services on Shipley. Work continues on fire hydrant replacement. Keep the plant up and running with 0 violations, and all of the work is routine. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. I do want to publicly thank our Public Works and Electric Department that kept us running and clean during the city, during the storm. So I want to say thank you to all of them. With that, I will accept a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.